Hello, it's 9 p.m. in RTD. It's time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. We have the head of state inaugurate the National Library and Archives. For the international scene, South Africa faces the 1 million cases mark for coronavirus. Welcome to our newsroom this morning. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, successively inaugurate the National Library and Archives. Listen to the video.
This morning, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, successfully inaugurated the National Library and Archives. This is the event that will close the year 2020. The event brought together the entire political class, ambassadors, UN representatives, and a good number of other personalities, including the internationally renowned writer Mr. Nuruddin Farah. Under the supervision of the Ministry of Culture, the Minister's office made things big. On his arrival, the Chief Executive, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, was welcomed by the Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, and the Minister of Waqf, Mr. Mu'min Hassan Bari. A day in the effigy of Djiboutian culture was crowned with success with various traditional dances that reflect the identity of the nation. The day began with a reading of the Holy Quran and a poem reflecting the importance of a library and archives for a nation and its collective memory.
For his part, the ambassador of China, Mr. Zhu Ruichang, in his speech stressed that this work is the result of collaboration between the Republic of Djibouti and the People's Republic of China. Listen to the report.
Cette année marque le 20e anniversaire du FOCAC. Après 20 ans de développement, non seulement le FOCAC est devenu un étendard guidant la coopération sino-africaine.
This year marks the 20th anniversary of FOCAC. After 20 years of development, FOCAC has not only become a guiding banner for Sino-African and South-South cooperation, but also it has set an example while encouraging other international partnerships to become more committed to Africa's development. The last 20 years of FOCAC's development has been an opportunity for China and Djibouti to steadily intensify their cooperation ties. Since the establishment of our bilateral relations more than 40 years ago,
for his part, the Minister of Cultures and Waqf Property, Mr. Mu'min Hassan Bari, who has spared no effort since the very beginning of 3 years ago. Listen to the report.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وبعد. C'est avec une grande joie que nous assistons aujourd'hui à la cérémonie de l'inauguration de la Bibliothèque et des Archives nationales.
It is with great joy that we are attending today the ceremony for the inauguration of the National Archives Library. Your presence, Mr. President of the Republic, is a great honor for us, as you are the first promoters and protectors of Djiboutian culture. Allow me on my behalf and on behalf of the great family of Djiboutian culture to thank you very much for your sponsorship of this new institution. The construction of these new infrastructures, a source of our national pride, highlights the cultural dimension of national development, which is confirmed day by day. Thanks to your enlightened policy and your civic vision, enabling our youth to access knowledge and new technology. Our young students will be delighted to have these two cultural gems close to the university campus here in Balbala. Mr. President of the Republic, we are very happy to be able to create a national library and archives managed according to international standards by exploiting the latest technologies in this field. We are proud to achieve all this by relying on ourselves and relying on our national resources. We are convinced, Mr. President, that this institution will be a shine from the title in particular and the reference for Djiboutian literature in general. Among the missions assigned to the National Library are to ensure the reception of legal deposit and the management of the ISBN International Standard Serial Number, as well as the ISSN International Standard Serial Number. The National Library will also be responsible for regulating publishing houses on national soil. The main missions of the National Archives are summarized in 4 C's, namely to collect, classify, conserve, and communicate the national archival heritage. This is to contribute to the development of public archives, central administrations, public institutions, and private funds of national interest.
The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, proud of the work accomplished, stressed in his speech that buildings of a library and national archives is a choice. This is the first step of the...
Alhamdulillah, as-salatu was-salam ala rasulih al-amin. Mesdames et messieurs, c'est avec émotion que je parraine cette cérémonie d'inauguration de la bibliothèque et des archives nationales.
It is with great emotion that I sponsor this ceremony for the inauguration of the Library and National Archives, which are privileged instruments of information, education, and training at the service of the population. Donated by China, the National Library and Archives reflect our common commitment to dialogue between cultures and to safeguarding the history of each people and each nation. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned earlier, it is a pleasure to be here with you today to inaugurate these new facilities, which I hope will serve many of our fellow citizens. It is always a moving moment to integrate to a place whose purpose is to promote culture and knowledge, but this moment is above all symbolic, as it represents our attachment to the practice of culture and dynamism pursued by our country. Reading is the most appropriate gateway to the worlds of culture and knowledge. It allows us to open up to new worlds and to oppose the centuries' scourge of withdrawal. It is a practice that also allows me to condition all others. The band reflects the importance of the place of cultural heritage in the construction of the Djiboutian nation. So fundamental are their respective missions in the blossoming and emancipation of Djiboutian literature, but also the conservation and transmission of data on the societal, economic, and political history of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, indeed, it is a question of perpetuating this duty to remember which is at the very heart of our country's history. These national archives constitute the collective memory of our society, our people, our nation, our country. By virtue of their functions, they will remain inexhaustible sources for researchers and intellectuals, but will also constitute niches of information and testimony for different generations. Needless to say, these national archives constitute a major challenge of our nation, their main role being to recount the past in order to read the present and shed light on the future. Moreover, even if we have witnessed over the last 2 decades a diverse fiction of the uses of books and text supports, the printed book remains the most effective tool for learning and opening up to the world. This shows that, contrary to what we might think, the printed book is not the most effective tool for learning and opening up to the world. It is for this reason that we tend to justify our words with the famous saying, "The written word stays, the spoken word flies." For this reason, I strongly invite public and autonomous administrations and other services to deposit their archives dating back more than 7 years to the National Archives of Djibouti in order to strengthen the documentation capacity of this institution. It is in the general interest of our nation.
Continuing his speech, the President of the Republic said that these two institutions will play a key role in the training of the future generation. Listen to the rest of the speech.
Je tiens à rappeler que ces deux institutions fourniront un service public gratuit et essentiel.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to recall that both institutions will provide a free and essential public service, essential and free of charge for our young people who wish to learn and open up to the world, essential and free of charge for those who feel the need to get information or training, essential for those whose costs of access to reading were a hindrance and who do not have sufficient financial resources to treat themselves to this pleasure and feed their cultural appetite. It is for this particular reason that I urge our population to take ownership of these two institutions, to explore all the knowledge conveyed by paper and digital media, and to recharge their batteries in order to contribute to the rebirth of the national culture adorned with its essential values and open to progress. It should be kept in mind that there is a volunteerism policy behind this initiative and that things are not self-evident. If we succeed in giving our children, but also adults from all walks of life in our country, an even greater taste for reading, then we will have won the bet. This challenge requires the commitment of everyone, mine and yours, ladies and gentlemen, but also and above all, that of all our fellow citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, I am impressed by the infrastructures present in these two buildings and by the constant research that has gone into their accessibility. Disability will no longer be a handicap for the band, and moreover, culture and creations are places of exchange and meeting, so there is no reason why the audience that frequent them should be uniform. Culture is synonymous with diversity and cannot contribute to situations of exclusion or intimidation. It should in no way appear inaccessible, especially for people with special needs or those living in situations of exclusion. I believe that the project is a perfect response to this challenge, and I count on all of you to continue to make it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, our country has just taken a major step in safeguarding our oral and writing cultural heritage and in restoring our past, as well as in the perpetual learning of culture and open-mindedness. To conclude my speech, I express the wish that the population will take ownership of these new places with enthusiasm and passion, but above all with responsibility. I draw your attention to this collective responsibility for this preservation of these cultural institutions that are the heart of our nation's development, for culture is the basis of all development, whether it's economic, technological, social, agricultural, or health-related. Long live the Djiboutian culture! Long live Djibouti's Chinese Corporation. Thank you.
In his speech in Somali language, the President of the Republic said that this colossal work was accomplished and financed by the sister country of the People's Republic of China. We know its values because these two institutions fill a void as we know it, whether it is the library or the archives that record our cultural heritage, our past and our future. This is one of the most important things that our country is needed, and this has come true today thanks to Almighty and thanks to our Chinese friend. We have to be part of these institutions together. Together we have to take advantage of them. How we have to do it so that our people can enjoy these benefits, because of essential function of a library is to promote the discovery and of books. We will have to make sure that those abroad can also benefit from this. If we are a society as such, if our literature and poetry were transmitted in such a way, today we must ensure that this can be written so that our stories and literature cannot vanish into this sister of the ages. At no time should our people be without a past, without our roots. This National Library and Archives will enable us to remedy this. The function of the library is to store books, precious objects, books that takes us centuries back in the times, and others take us into the future. Books keep feelings alive. The work of others of past centuries still breathe. Poetry will always inspire, and its soul will never die. all that these two institutions will need, the government is ready to provide both in terms of funding and in terms of cooperation with other countries at our universities. Once the first visit was over, the president went to the National Library. This so-called National Library covers an area of 5,400 square meters, designed for a collection of 450,000 books. It's composed of 47 offices, a conference rooms, an exhibition hall, 6 shops, 5 reading rooms, 2 audiovisual rooms, training centers, and 300 seats amphitheater. It provides the public with vast repertories of works that can be consulted and that cover various fields of literature and scientific knowledge, and offers educational and recreational activity events for children and young people. Elsewhere, the National Library provides users with rooms dedicated to the organizations of conferences, symposia, workshops, exhibitions, and any other socio-cultural and educational activities. It should be remembered that these two colossal booking institutions meet the needs of the new generation, is funded by the government of the Republic of China, and launched on 17 April 2017 by the President of the Republic. The realization of this gigantic project was entirely financed by the Chinese government in the form of a grant and required to three-fifths of more than 5,600,000,000 Djibouti francs. The President of the Republic went to these two institutions for posterity to unveil the plaques. Once inside, the President visited the archives consisting of 2 buildings. The National Archives are built on an area of 6,200 meters square to preserve more than 300,000 documents. They are composed of about 50 offices, conference rooms, and an exhibition room specific to the archives, 13 storage room for the conservation of these the 3 types of media: paper, photo, and video. 2 reading rooms with a total surface area of 300 meters square, and 2 audiovisual rooms and an internship and training center. The visit to the library's premises enabled the President to admire the offers for universities, researchers, and the public possibility to consult in various media, thus accessing the collection memory to refine their researches and knowledges. In addition, the National Archives provides specific training in the conservation, management, and restorations of archives to public administrations staff in charges of archives. The National Archives thus provides all the equipment necessary to carry out its national missions as the custodian of the nation's writing heritage as the country's central documentary platforms. As part of this working stays in Djibouti, the President of Somaliland, Mr. Musa Bihi Abdi, accompanied by a delegation including the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Ambassador of Somaliland, and in Djibouti, the Ambassador of Djibouti in Somaliland visit this morning the Center for Leadership and Entrepreneurship located at the neighborhood 6 Sonfield, accompanied by the Minister of Agriculture Mohammed Ahmed Awale. The delegation was composed of the Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of Industry Ilyas Musa Dawale, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Finance Mr. Abdulrazak Ahmed Idris, the Director General of the Center for Leadership Ms. Ubah Ahmed Malo, and members of the management of the center. During this visit, the management of the CLE took the opportunity to brief the President on different missions and activities of the CLE. It was also discussed ways and means of strengthening relations between the two countries through this center aimed at accompanying young Djiboutians wishing to undertake business in Somaliland. President Bihi then conducted guided tours of the premises of the Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership, where his delegation has had the opportunity to meet with the young entrepreneurs who are incubated within the framework of CLE's support programs. Under the high patronage of the Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of Industry, Ilyas Musa Dawale, the Center for Leadership and Entrepreneurship organized this Sunday, December 27, the official ceremony for the handing over of funds in favor of the EJA of Propeja, the commune of Balbala, as we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic that is raging through the world has not spared our country. The measures taken by the government, which were necessary to slow down the spread of the virus, have impacted on the business ecosystems, and many entrepreneurs have found themselves in a situation of cessation of activity as a result of the measures decreed by the government. This represents a considerable loss of income for these actors, especially the most fragile who no longer have the means to provide for their families. Thanks to the leadership of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, the government of Djibouti has taken the right measures of the seriousness of the situation. Funds have therefore been mobilized to help the most fragile citizens, but also the entrepreneurs of the small and medium enterprises. For his part, the director of EDDS, Mr. Mahdi, said that the measures taken by the government, which were necessary to slow down the spread of coronavirus, have impacted on the businesses ecosystems, and many entrepreneurs have found themselves in a situation of cessation of activity as a result of the measures decreed by the government. For his part, the Minister of Economy and Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawale, has indicated that this represents a considerable loss of incomes for these actors, especially the most fragile. Listen to the Minister.
Je pense que la crise de Covid a beaucoup frappé tout le monde, mais en particulier ceux qui sont plus fragiles d'entre nous, c'est-à-dire les jeunes entrepreneurs.
I think that the COVID crisis has hit everyone a lot, especially those of us who are more fragile. For example, young entrepreneurs. This is why we thought it was very important to continue to encourage and accompany you. We assure you that the government of Djibouti, under the leadership of the President, will remain at your side, because it's not that we want to play politics, because it is the future of Djibouti that depends. When I say the future of Djibouti, it is, first of all, you, yourself, young people who already have diplomas, including baccalaureate degree and more, live from their efforts today without having to run after the Greeks to get a job. And when you are going to be even more successful with the support, it is you who are going to hire much more than the state. If out of the few hundred who are going to benefit from this program, one must hope so, to have 2, 3 or 5 millionaires. This will help many people in Djibouti, many of their families, many of their friends, and many of their neighbors, by creating jobs, by creating opportunities, by consuming in Djibouti, by paying taxes. That's what we're looking for. In fact, and so our future also depends on how we prepare you, how we accompany you, but above all, how you yourself will really fight for your dignity. Because earning a living, succeeding, it's also a question of honor and dignity. That is to say that it's you who will give. It's not you who will receive. That's what the entrepreneur is all about. What we are trying to instill is to create a generation of winners, a generation of builders. That we still see is not enough. We know that when we talk about the 200,000 francs, it's not much, but for some of you, it still represents a good sum, and this sum will help to pay your credits during the COVID crisis.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs International Cooperation, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, co-chaired this morning with the Ambassador of European Union, Aidan O'Hara, the closing ceremony and the presentations of certificate of the seminar on digital transformation. The choice of this theme reflects the awareness of the digital transformations in our world and the importance it is taken over the years that African countries such as Djibouti have assimilated and put the digital development plans at the forefront of their action plan and aim to achieve by 2035. The acting directors of the Institute of Diplomatic Studies, Mr. Mohammed Abdul Qadir Musa, warmly thanked the trainers and the speakers who guided you through these seminars and introduced you to the mysteries of the digital transformation. For his part, the Minister of Foreign Affairs International Cooperation, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, has for his part the awareness of the digital transformations in our world and the importance it is taking over the years. Listen to the head of the diplomacy.
Le choix du séminaire d'aujourd'hui, avec l'appui, comme toujours, de l'Union européenne, que je tiens à remercier ici, le choix de ce séminaire est un choix judicieux.
The choice of Djibouti's seminar, with the support as always of the European Union, whom I would like to thank here, is a wise choice for a youth that today has opened up to the world. A youth that is eager to participate in this digital transformation and above all, a youth that is at the forefront of the innovations that take place day after day in this field of activity. It is important to say this because nothing today can be hidden from those who are in position to benefit from and exploit these technologies. We live international information in real time. Even if it is happening at the end of the world, we have knowledge primarily through these tools and we have the ability to make an analysis and a judgment that is as close to reality as possible. But I believe that being able to use these tools for one's daily life, one's work, and above all being able to be informed, having the necessary knowledge in real time, following innovations, this makes you today, men and women, who live in a modern world and you have to hold on them. I believe in that. We must accompany this and we must be vigilant and aware of what is being done in the field of information technology, in the field of digital transformation. This contributes, as many say, to better governments. And this better governments, I believe, is in the interest of a country, of its population, in the interest of a whole region and especially of the country itself.
The Sheraton Hotel hosted a workshop focusing on the human, legal, and sociological rights of people living with HIV/AIDS, and this workshop was conducted by the Priorities Disease Directorate with the support of UNAIDS and UNDP. The objective of this training was to strengthen the skills of healthcare providers to better understand the human rights in order to deal with the legal issues related to the lives of the aim is to increase better overall care in order to participate in an effective national response by fighting against form of stigmatizations. Wanted noticed the Muhammad Abdi families is actively looking for their grandsons. Abdurrahman Muhammad Abdi disappeared since yesterday around 2 p.m. He was leaving for Ali Sabih. The last time the family saw the little Abdurrahman Muhammad Abdi, he was wearing black shirts and grey trousers. Anyone who comes across these little boys should contact the following numbers: 776311 and 8777 or 7709 5218 or take him to the nearest police station. For the international scene, South Africa became Sunday evening the first African country to exceed 1 million contaminations with COVID-19 after the announcements of the latest figures by its ministries of health in this midst of the second wave of the pandemic, while a more transmissible variant of the coronavirus is responsible for the vast majorities of the new cases. The most affected countries on the African continent has officially recorded more than 1 million positive cases and 26,700 deaths. The government is considering imposing new restrictions, and the President Cyril Ramaphosa may address the countries on television this week, as he has done regularly since the beginning of the pandemic. In Africa, the second most affected country is Morocco, 462,000 cases and 7,240 deaths, followed by Egypt, 13,000 cases and 7,000 deaths, Tunisia, 113,000 cases and 4,400 deaths. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.